So one of the things that I spend quite a lot of time doing is touching up white paintwork in the tinies. Maintenance is one of the things you really have to keep on top of it, and it doesn't mean heavy maintenance, you know, like building things or what have you. It's just the small things, because no matter how hard we all work here at cleaning and making things nice, if someone comes in and sits down and looks and sees a bit of scuffed paintwork, it just doesn't give a good vibe, does it? So I'm currently going around with my little mini roller, and also don't buy cheap paint. We've learned this the hard way, years ago actually. I used to be a design consultant for Do It All, if anybody remembers, the UK Focus Do It All. I think they're still going, but it used to just be Do It All. Anyway, I had a job doing working on interior design tips and things like that, and I worked on a lot of paint cards, and I learned quite a lot about different types of paint. And one thing I would really recommend is don't buy cheap own brand paints, because you'll have to do 3 coats where 1 would do. My recommended is Dulux Trade Emulsion. We have a really good Dulux Decorator centre on the island. They're great for advice, and I just always get stuff there. You can buy cheaper in some of the big sheds, but just find that the Dulux Trade Emulsion is much better. So the bit that I'm doing here is around where we keep the logs, you know, the log basket, and it just gets grubby very, very quickly. So often have to come in and just do a little wipe over with the pure, brilliant white matte emulsion. I dread to think how much tins, litres of that we've bought over the years. But we don't use just white. In a couple of the cabins have some colour. Hooga has a really lovely blush pink that by the sofa, so that doesn't get as much wet, but we do have to go under that as well. And another good thing about using the Dulux Centre was, obviously, when I lost Fraser, doing things like getting all the paint and doing that was more his thing, truth be told. So I didn't have a record of all of the colours. I mean, you know, unfortunately, Fraser passed away so quickly after getting a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer that, you know, we didn't have a chance to think about business stuff, really. Just personal things took place. So it's things like, stupid things like paint colours, you know. If we didn't have an old tin of it and we'd run out, luckily in the Dulux Centre, they had, you know, still on our account, so that was a saver. Otherwise I would have had some right fun trying to match things up. Anywho, here we go. So another thing that, I'm choosing all the glamorous subjects here. Anyway, another thing I wanted to talk about was pest control. I did say when I started this vlog that I wanted to share what it's like in day-to-day running a business like ours. And we have 6 cabins situated around a meadow, a studio building, and various other utilities. So over the years, we've had to deal with various kinds of so-called pests, you know. I know people have different views on these things, but obviously, you know, there's things like we've had hornets' nests, 2 of those, so they had to go. And we had a thing called field flies. Now, they were a very strange thing. I'll see if I can find, well, they're not strange at all, they're very common. I don't know why I said strange, but they were strange to us because we didn't know what they were coming from town. We didn't know what field flies were. And in a couple of the cabins, when they were first finished, the first couple of years we had them, we noticed that there were big swarms of these lazy black flies that were sitting outside the cabins and sometimes in as well. And gave us a right panic. We thought, where are they coming from? And they were like really sort of hairy, fat, hairy flies. And they were very lazy, so you could easily kind of sweep them out. So, you know, we were doing that. But I remember one guest having a huge banana about it, and we felt terrible. They just appeared, you know. Anyway, turns out they are field flies, and you can look them up. And we think these ones laid their larvae in the rafters of the buildings when the buildings were being built. So it was just these two of the cabins that had the problem. Anyway, we've researched, we've got advice from our really fantastic company that we use, I'll mention in a minute. And we use, if they show their heads again, we use these little, it's very good, it's like a spray, time release spray. And it's safe to use, it's eco, it's all, you know, a safe thing to use with humans, but obviously it gets rid of the flies. So you can imagine, that was a trauma. Been through that one. The cabins are all built with pest control in place with regards to rodents. You have to, again, we're signed off by building control. So, you know, we've got all that in place. But of course, mice can get in. And we sometimes notice it if there's been hay mown in a field next door or when the weather changes. Like when the weather gets, you know, suddenly get a sharp frost or something, we have to keep our eyes peeled for any little unwelcome visitors because, you know, they're benign, but people don't like them and they cause damage. Talking of damage, this is the reason for this this discussion about pest control on the vlog. Our studio building where I'm sitting now, we suddenly had a problem with the electrics, the lights. Anyway, we sorted one thing out and then another thing happened. And just this week, our chap has been in spending a day and a half, at least a day and a half, trying to find the source of the actual wire that was causing the problem because the lights kept tripping all the time. I'm going to hold this up, I don't know, can you see? Look at that, look at that. I won't say the words I actually use, but yes, we have had some mice in the roof space here. So I phoned our local, we used Island Pest Control. We use them all the time. We've used them for all of our businesses because, like fools, all of our businesses have been outdoors ones. We had vintage caravans, we've had, you know, the old converted churches in the middle of blooming nowhere. Anywho, so I called Steve from Island Pest Control and he told me what to do to check whether we had any active, which was basically put a biscuit up in the roof, a bit of biscuit up in the roof space to see if it went. I was keeping everything crossed, but yeah, it's gone. So I've put the call out and he'll come in and whatever he advises to do will be done. You know, so another expense I don't need in the winter. But, you know, we have to kind of have a budget for that, really. I mean, I'm trying to think, you know, we've been going now since 2017. I think we've had maybe 4 calls out for pest control. So, you know, that's not bad going, is it, really? You know, and we've had the odd mice here and there. We use traps. We've tried the humane traps and we've tried the regular ones. I'll leave it there. People have different opinions on that. Just wish they didn't come in. They've got the whole meadow, they've got the whole forest, you know. We do advise guests not to leave any food out. And I'll be frank here, the times when people have had an issue or called us up, said they've seen a mouse, we've been in the cabin the next day. Loaves of bread, cake, the Harvest Festival in there, lying out, you know. People don't realise, I mean, you know, people don't realise if they don't live in the countryside, you know, it's hard to, it's not something that's in your conscious, is it? You know, you don't think about, oh, I better not leave me a loaf of bread on the side, I'm in a cabin, the mice might come and find it, because it's not anything you think of. So I'm not calling out people for that, but it's just something that happens. Again, I'm sharing what it's like to run a business like this. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this talk about the most glamorous subject of pest control.
Well, on perhaps a more savoury note, every year the team and I go out for a brunch and discuss state of the nation, you know, everything about the business, you know, day-to-day running things, and also marketing. I think it's a really nice thing to do and it gets everybody involved, and I get some brilliant feedback and great ideas from Becky and Michelle. So thanks for that. And thanks also to the garden in Cowes where we went this year, which was amazing. It's somewhere I go quite often and we had a really delicious meal. So thank you very much for that.